Welcome to Gooseberry Science and Education Videos. I'm your host, Dr. Eris, and I am absolutely thrilled to have you with us for today's explainer. Say hello to Gooby, our little orange gooseberry assistant. Gooby's going to help me point out the most fascinating details as we go along. All right, let's dive right into this. Today, we're looking at the true blueprint of the built world, unlocking the secrets of cement clinker. Just look at the sheer scale of what Gooby is pointing out right there. Concrete is actually the most widely used resource in the entire world, second only to water. I mean, just look out your window, right? You'll see it literally everywhere. Sidewalks, massive skyscrapers, highways, dams, the whole shebang. But here's the crucial point. Concrete doesn't just magically appear. It relies on a hidden hero ingredient that binds the sand, rock, and water together to make this entire concrete world possible. And that hero? Well, it's a mysterious, pebble-like substance called cement clinker. So today we're going to uncover exactly what makes this material the literal foundation of our modern world. So here's the blueprint for our explainer today. We'll start with part 1, the core of concrete. Then part 2, the fiery manufacturing journey. Moving into part 3, the chemistry of calcination. Part 4 is wet versus dry processing. And finally, part 5, global impact and innovations. Let's jump right into section 1, the core of concrete, defining cement clinker. So what is it? Well, cement clinker is essentially artificial rock. It's a solid intermediary product, usually forming these little lumps or nodules ranging from about 3 to 25 millimeters in diameter. So picture something about the size of a marble. It's produced by sintering limestone and aluminosilicate materials, like clay. Now, sintering is a pretty fascinating concept. Basically, it means fusing these raw materials together under extreme heat without actually melting them to the point of total liquefaction. It's a real trial by fire. And here's a quick fun fact for you. Back in the 19th century, clinker was actually used to make an incredibly convincing artificial rock called polemite for landscaping. Crazy, right? So, how do we actually make these little magic marbles on an industrial scale? That brings us to section 2, the fiery manufacturing journey, the industrial journey. Let's look at the chronological roadmap, taking us from extracting materials deep in the earth all the way to the final product. It starts at step 1 with quarrying, extracting absolute mountains of limestone, clay, and sand. Then step 2, crushing. We take these massive rocks and break them down to about the size of baseballs. Step 3 brings us to preheating, where a preheater tower uses recycled plant heat to kickstart the chemical reactions early. This makes the whole system way more efficient. Then comes the main event, step 4, kiln firing. This is what actually creates our clinker marbles. And finally, step 5 is pulverizing. Once that red-hot clinker cools down, it's ground up in a ball mill. But wait, here's an absolutely critical detail. During this pulverizing step, they have to add a small amount of gypsum. Why? Well, without gypsum, the resulting cement would suffer from what's called flash setting, meaning the second you mix it with water, it would harden instantly. You definitely don't want that on a job site. Now, I really want you to notice the sheer intensity of that 4th step we just looked at, the kiln firing. Inside that massive cylindrical rotary kiln, which, by the way, can be up to 200 meters long, the materials are subjected to a roaring flame. The temperature reaches a staggering 1,450 degrees Celsius. That is roughly 2,640 degrees Fahrenheit. Just mind-blowing heat. This is the extreme sintering temperature required to force those crushed rocks to chemically combine. It's an incredibly demanding, energy-intensive environment. Let's break down exactly what happens as those materials move through that intense heat. The rising temperatures basically act like an engine for different stages of decomposition and fusion inside the kiln. At 150 degrees Celsius, the raw limestone is just losing its water weight. Move up to 650 degrees, and the magnesium carbonate begins to decompose. Now, the absolutely crucial phase hits at 950 degrees. This is where the calcium carbonate decomposes into calcium oxide, or lime, and starts releasing carbon dioxide. Finally, at 1250 degrees and above, about 20 to 30% of those raw materials become a partially molten slurry. And that is exactly where those small clinker marbles finally start to form. Moving right along to section 3, the chemistry of calcination microscopic blueprint. If you look right here, you'll see the raw chemical equations of what's actually happening to the clay and carbonates under all that extreme heat. Look really closely at the equation for 950 degrees Celsius. Calcium carbonate, that's CaCO3, breaks down into CaO, which is our lime, and releases CO2, carbon dioxide. This specific reaction is called calcination. And guys, this is the absolute heart of the cement-making process. It's what transforms inert rock into a highly reactive binder. But as we'll discuss in just a minute, that necessary release of carbon dioxide, yeah, that's also the industry's biggest hurdle right now. Through what are known in the industry as Bogue's formulas, we can calculate the final chemical makeup of our clinker marbles. And it mostly consists of 4 main players. The most important ones are the calcium silicates, primarily alite, which makes up a huge portion of the mix, right alongside belite. Now, alite is the absolute star of the show here. It's what provides that crucial rapid strength development that allows our concrete to hold up literal skyscrapers and massive bridges. The other 2, tricalcium aluminate and calcium aluminoferrate, they act a bit more like a flux during that fiery kiln process, mostly just helping to lower the required melting temperature. All right, let's head into section 4, wet versus dry processing, mixing raw materials. The crucial point in this comparison is really the trade-off between energy and ease. In the older wet process, the raw materials are mixed into a slurry containing about 35 to 50% moisture. Because it's a liquid, it's super easy to mix and get a beautifully homogeneous material. However, you need a much bigger kiln and a massive amount of fuel just to evaporate all that water. On the other side, we have the modern dry process. Here, materials are formed into pellets with only about 12% moisture. You get to use a smaller kiln, and it requires significantly less fuel, making it far, far more economical. The catch? Well, it's a lot harder to perfectly mix dry powders than it is a wet slurry. But because of that energy savings, today, the highly efficient dry process absolutely dominates modern production. And that brings us to our final section, Part 5, Global Impact and Innovations, a Sustainable Future. Take a hard look at this number, 8%. Global cement production contributes roughly 8% of all worldwide carbon emissions. This is largely due to the clinker manufacturing process we just learned about. Remember that calcination equation, where the calcium carbonate breaks down and chemically releases CO2? Combine that unavoidable chemical release with burning massive amounts of fuel to reach 1450 degrees Celsius, and you get a pretty massive carbon footprint. When you consider that concrete is the second most used resource on Earth, well, that 8% translates to an immense, almost unimaginable volume of emissions. But hey, the story certainly doesn't end there. The industry is currently deploying some incredible, innovative solutions to try and reach carbon neutrality by 2050. Facilities are implementing carbon capture, utilization, and storage, or CCUS technology, directly at the smokestacks. They're also increasingly utilizing alternative fuels, brilliantly co-processing things like old tire-derived fuel. That reduces landfill waste while simultaneously powering the kilns. And, crucially, they're starting to use alternative raw materials, like fly ash from power plants and blast furnace slag, to create lower-carbon cement blends. They are essentially turning industrial waste into valuable, strength-building assets for a circular economy. It's a real game-changer. So, this leaves us with a pretty profound question to ponder. How will next-generation engineering continue to rebuild our world's blueprints sustainably? The intense chemistry of clinker gave us the very foundation of the modern built world. And now, modern ingenuity has to refine it for a greener future. Thank you so much for joining Gooby and me today to learn about this hidden hero of construction. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. We are already working on a new topic.